What happened when we let go of 90% of our stuff? Japanese minimalism. Have you ever wondered what would happen if you got rid of almost everything you own? What if we told you that keeping just 10% of your belongings could actually make you happier, calmer, and more focused than you've ever been? The journey begins. So here's what happened. We were drowning in stuff. Our closets were packed, our drawers couldn't close properly, and we spent more time looking for things than actually using them. Sound familiar? We bet it does, because the average American home has around 300,000 items in it. That's absolutely crazy when you think about it. That's when we discovered Japanese minimalism, and honestly, it changed everything. Now, before you start picturing those super stark, empty rooms that look like nobody lives there, let us stop you right there. Japanese minimalism isn't about living in an empty box. It's something much deeper and way more beautiful than that. The whole idea comes from this amazing Japanese concept called less is more, but they take it to a completely different level. They call it danshari, which basically means refuse, dispose, and separate. But here's the thing that really got us excited about it. It's not just about throwing stuff away. It's about creating space for what actually matters in your life. Understanding the real meaning. When we first started learning about Japanese minimalism, we realized we had it all wrong. We thought minimalism meant getting rid of everything and living like monks. But Japanese minimalism is actually about something called ma, which is the beauty of empty space. Think about traditional Japanese rooms, where every single item has a purpose and a perfect place. Nothing is there by accident. The Japanese have this incredible way of looking at their belongings. Instead of asking, what can we get rid of? They ask, what deserves to stay? It's a completely different mindset, and when we shifted our thinking this way, everything became so much clearer. We learned that in Japan, people often live in much smaller spaces than we do here, but they're not cramped or uncomfortable. They've mastered the art of making every square inch count. Their homes feel peaceful and calm because everything flows together naturally. There's no visual noise, no clutter fighting for your attention. So we decided to try something pretty extreme. We committed to getting rid of 90% of our stuff over 6 months. Now, we know that sounds terrifying, but stick with us because what happened next was incredible. We started with our clothes because, let's be honest, that's where most of us have way too much stuff. The average person wears only 20% of their wardrobe regularly. We had closets full of clothes we hadn't touched in years, clothes that didn't fit right, clothes we bought on impulse and never actually liked. Following the Japanese approach, we kept only the pieces that made us feel confident and comfortable. We're talking about maybe 20 outfits total. Sounds scary, right? But here's what happened. Getting dressed became so much easier. No more standing in front of the closet for 20 minutes trying to decide what to wear. Everything we owned looked good and felt good. Then we moved to our kitchen. We had gadgets for everything. Bread makers, ice cream makers, pasta makers, most of which we used maybe once a year. We kept our basic cooking tools, a few quality pots and pans, and our everyday dishes. Cooking became more enjoyable because we could actually find what we needed, and cleaning up was a breeze. The living room was next, and this is where the real magic started happening. We got rid of all the decorative stuff that didn't have any real meaning to us. Instead of having 20 little decorations scattered around, we kept maybe 3 pieces that we absolutely loved. Suddenly, our space felt so much more peaceful and intentional. The unexpected changes. About 3 months into our experiment, we started noticing changes we never expected. First, we were sleeping better. Our bedroom, which used to be cluttered with random stuff, became this calm sanctuary. There's actually science behind this. Cluttered spaces increase cortisol levels, which is your stress hormone. We also found ourselves with so much more time. We weren't constantly tidying up, reorganizing, or looking for lost items. The average person spends 12 minutes a day looking for misplaced items. That's 44 hours a year. When you don't have much stuff, everything has its place, and you always know where to find it. But the biggest surprise was how much clearer our thinking became. It's like our minds were finally able to relax because our environment wasn't constantly demanding attention. Japanese minimalism teaches that your external environment directly affects your internal state, and we experienced this firsthand. Our relationships got better too. Instead of spending weekends shopping or organizing stuff, we had time for actual conversations, walks, and activities we enjoyed. We started hosting friends more often because our space felt welcoming rather than chaotic. The money side of things. Let's talk about something that really surprised us: the financial impact. When you're not constantly buying stuff you don't need, you save a lot of money. The average American spends about $1,986 per year on impulse purchases. We were probably spending even more than that. But it wasn't just about spending less. We also made money by selling things we no longer needed. Those kitchen gadgets, extra furniture, clothes with tags still on them, they actually had value that was just sitting in our closets doing nothing. More importantly, we stopped feeling the need to buy new things all the time. Japanese minimalism teaches you to appreciate what you already have. When every item in your home is something you truly value, you don't feel like you're missing anything. The daily reality. Now let's get real about what daily life looks like when you own 90% less stuff. Mornings are incredible. We wake up in a clean, calm space. Getting ready takes half the time it used to because everything we need is right where it should be. Cleaning our home takes maybe 30 minutes total now, compared to the hours we used to spend every weekend. When friends come over, we don't have to run around hiding clutter or apologizing for the mess. But here is something we didn't expect. We became much more intentional about what we brought into our home. Every potential purchase got the question, does this add real value to our life? And most of the time, the answer was no, and we walked away feeling good about that decision. What we learned. The biggest lesson was that happiness doesn't come from having more stuff. It comes from having the right stuff. Japanese minimalism taught us the difference between wanting something and actually needing it. Most of what we thought we needed was just noise. We also learned that letting go is incredibly freeing. Every item we released felt like lifting a small weight off our shoulders. It's amazing how much mental energy goes into managing all your possessions, energy that becomes available for more important things when you simplify. The Japanese concept of mono no awara, the bittersweet awareness of the impermanence of all things, became real for us. We stopped trying to hold on to everything and started enjoying what we had in the moment. The results today. 6 months later, living with 90% less stuff feels completely natural. Our home is a place of peace rather than stress. We spend our money on experiences rather than things. We have deeper relationships because we're not distracted by constant consumption. The most surprising result, we don't miss any of the stuff we got rid of. Not one single item. If we can't even remember what we owned before, how important could it have been? Japanese minimalism showed us that abundance isn't about having everything. It's about having enough of what matters. When you remove the excess, what remains becomes more valuable, more appreciated, and more meaningful. So if you're feeling overwhelmed by your stuff, maybe it's time to ask yourself the Japanese question, what deserves to stay? You might be surprised by how little you actually need and how much happier you can be with less.